الخير كله بيديك والشر ليس إليك. The Prophet ﷺ, he famously said that all goodness is in your hands and evil is not to be attributed to you. And when the Prophet ﷺ says that, obviously the first question that comes to mind is, well, didn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already write it down? Didn't we say Allah wrote down everything? So didn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then create evil? And the answer to that question is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us directly in the Quran that evil is to be attributed to the creation. So, min sharri ma khalaq. We seek refuge in Allah from the evil of that which He created. Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He also says that corruption has appeared on the land and on the seas, bima kasabat aydin nas, because of what man's hands have earned. And what that shows us again is that we are the ones that earn it, and this all goes back to what we've already discussed, that to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala there is no past, present, and future. Ultimately this evil is happening because of our choices and because of what we do. And to say that it's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created it that we have evil is to absolve ourselves of responsibility. Imam ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala gave a very beautiful analogy. He said that for you to say that you are not responsible for the evil that you've performed because Allah created it is like committing adultery, having a child, and then saying, you know what, I'm not going to support that child because Allah created the child. So you're absolving yourself of your own responsibility in the making of that evil and what happens as a result. And obviously, in our religion, you had one extreme of people that denied divine decree altogether and said Allah doesn't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and that's why certain things happen, and that's the only clear explanation. But obviously, by saying that, you reduce from the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or you attempt to reduce the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you had the opposite, which was al-Jabariyah, the people that said we are forced into doing what we do. So in essence, we're all actors in a play. So Musa alayhi salam is equal to Fir'aun because they all did what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created them to do. We have no power over anything that we do. And obviously that's nonsense as well, because we're absolved in our religion. For example, if we oversleep, even if we oversleep and we miss a prayer, Rasulullah says, أَعْذَرَ اللَّهُ لِأُمَّتِي, Allah has forgiven my ummah لِلْخَطَأَ وَالنِّسْيَانِ وَمَا اسْتُكْرِهُ عَلَيْهِ, for the things they do out of mistake, out of forgetfulness, or that which is forced upon them. So you're not punished for things that you do out of compulsion in the first place. So then how could Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make that the basis of all creation, that you will be punished even though you had no control over the evil that took place in this world? So it is all attributed to us because time is irrelevant to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And obviously, if we look at what happens in the world today, people tend to divide evil into two categories. There's moral evil and there's natural evil. Under moral evil, essentially that's what can be directly traced to human beings' hands. So moral evil includes murder, includes corruption and things of that sort. And there's a very famous quote that I wanted to ask God why He allows poverty and oppression and hunger, but I was afraid He might ask me the same question. There is enough food in this world for each and every single person to have a 3,200 calorie diet, which is more than enough. Now, why is it that why is it that we have famine, and why is it that we have crises of hunger in the 21st century? That's not because Allah didn't give us enough, that's because of our own corruption, right? So we have to ask ourselves, what are we doing to solve the problem of hunger, and what are we doing to solve the problem of clean water not being available to certain people? Because clean water is available, there's an abundance of clean water, but why is it that certain people don't have access to clean water? Why is it that we allow oppression and we don't speak out against injustice? And Karl Marx, his argument against religion is that religion tends to dull the masses and make them complacent. Islam doesn't teach us to be passive or complacent and just say, you know what, this is all happening because Allah decreed. Rather, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the responsibility to confront what appears to be evil to us, and then when things don't go our way, we then have the satisfaction that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control and that there was a greater reasoning for this happening. It's not that we sit there and just say, hey, there's a greater reasoning for this, so we should not attempt to confront it. Because evil at the end of the day is relative. So when it comes to the natural evil now, which is earthquakes and things of that sort, and you could make the argument that that's also due to the corruption of man, because we destroy our environment, and obviously when we destroy our environment, it turns against us, and though it's by the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's by the decree of Allah, it's still traced to our hands. What we should understand is that evil is relative at the end of the day, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does have a plan. And in essence, if you look through the Quran, when Allah talks about the believer, the foundation of the believer, at the end of the day, he believes in Allah and he believes in the hereafter. And if people that have issues with the plan of God and what happens in this world and divine decree, they either have a deficiency in their belief in God and in His power, or they have a deficiency in their belief of a life beyond this life. Because what other explanation would there be to a person that died at the hands of his oppressor? Except that, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ اللَّهَ غَافِلًا عَمَّا يَعْمَلُ الظَّالِمُونَ. Don't think that Allah is unaware of what the oppressors are doing. Right? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will deal with them on the Day of Judgment. And as for the one who's suffering, إِنَّمَا يُوَفَّى الصَّابِرُونَ أَجْرَهُمْ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. Allah will give them the reward of their patience with absolutely no limit. So either there's an issue with your belief in Allah, or there's an issue with your belief in a life beyond this life. And and if we have a firm belief in those two things, then everything else is easily solved. And what we have to also understand is لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah does not burden a soul beyond its capacity. You have a responsibility to not contribute to evil and to also confront evil as you see it. But at the same time, do not let what appears to be evil cause you to lose belief in Allah or in the last day.